ทัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังนะมาสามิ This morning we participated in a papaja or novice ordination, and the important elements of this one of the important elements of this ceremony, or perhaps the central element, is the part in which the upajjhaya, the ajahn, is sort of called the 5 kammathanas: hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin. It's significant that the act by which we formally leave the world is one in which we are face to face with the most ordinary, everyday elements of our existence, and one in which we commit ourselves, or are instructed to commit ourselves to this thorough examination of our body. So the whole web of delusion, the defilements that arise in practice, all derived from the body. And this is why in our tradition, teachings of forest tradition, teachings of Ajahn Mun, his disciples, stress not to forget the body, not to overlook the body, or to think it's something we've sorted out and go on to the higher dhammas, and somehow think that the purely mental and formless aspects of experience are on a more exalted level, or that we can bypass the contemplation of the body. And the body contemplation is given on the very day that we leave the worldly life, and the day that we change our whole outlook on life, and set our compass anew, as it were, and in turning our attention towards the ultimate, the transcendent. The practical means by which we do that is turning our attention to the mundane and the everyday. And Ajahn Chah often used to talk about vimutti and sumutti, and saying that it's his own use of these words really, but saying that the realization of the transcendent comes through understanding, thoroughly understanding the mundane, or the conventional or contingent reality. So we keep coming back to the ordinary, the everyday. And you can see that the ability to be able to walk from the sala, the inner sala, to this sala, or from your kuti to this sala in a mindful, composed way is actually far more marvelous than being able to fly here through the air. It's probably more difficult. And it's certainly more conducive to the realization of truth. So the marvelous, there are marvelous things which can be achieved by a well-trained mind, things which are beyond the ken, beyond even the belief of someone who's never given any interest into training of the mind. The more that you do train the mind, then the more you're willing to accept the possibility of these marvels, psychic power. But at the same time, you see that though we're not dismissing them, it's really somewhat beside the point. Because the point is how you get from point A to B, not whether you fly through the air or whether you walk along the path, but the quality of your mind, the quality of your awareness during that trip, during that journey. So to keep grounded in the present moment, we use the Vinaya rules, we use the monastic regulations, we use the Satipatthana practices, and keep coming back to reality of these very ordinary, normal things, the things that the world takes for granted. And this is the characteristic of the monastic, the samana in Buddha Sasana, is he is one, she is one who takes nothing for granted. And this is the way of the heedless, the way of the world is always to be taking something for granted, and to find some kind of rest or repose in assumptions. And as monastics, we're seeking to go beyond that, not take anything for granted, not even the simple things like hair on the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. And so what is hair on the head? And suddenly the most normal, ordinary kind of thing becomes rather strange when you look at it. You know, how is it we shave our heads and then within a very short time, the hair starts to be sprouting out of it again? How does it do that? I mean, you can live all you know. You don't actually know how it does that, why it does it, or why it stops doing that in certain parts of your head as you get older. For some of us, anyway. Why it changes colour, it starts to go grey, and this is just what an easy or obvious way into these profound truths of anicca, dukkha, and anatta that are provided by Kesa, Loma, Naka, Danta, Tacho. These five, the first five of the 32 parts of the body, they're visible, they're obvious. You can look at your own Kesa, Loma, Naka, Danta, Tacho. You can, in certain cases, to a certain extent, observe them in the bodies of the people around you. So there is a constant reminder of the three characteristics and of the truths, the profound truths of nature in our very mundane physical body. And this is where the super-mundane lies. It lies in the mundane. And look at the hair, what it's like. What we can take the super aspect. You know, what hair's like when it's not been washed. I remember one of my smells tend to stick in the memory very much. One of the strongest memories of my childhood is the Saturday matinee at the local cinema, and this kind of rancid smell of unwashed hair of all the kids as we press against the ticket counter to get the ticket to go in to see the matinee. That smell of unwashed hair has stayed with me for all these years. And what's greasy hair like? You know, when they wash it, when people's hair is greasy. Or can you remember the teenage years when you get dandruff and how depressing it is to see this kind of snow on your collar every day, and and all the sort of different shampoos there are. You go into a supermarket, there's an incredible amount of shampoos for all the different things that can make your hair unattractive, and when the dukkha aspect, how many is there people in the world, people spend worrying about their hair and the style of their hair and the length of their hair and so on and so forth. Of course, as monastics, then we can dispense with all of that, thank goodness. But to see how that in the world, hair is used as a way of projecting something, projecting personality, and people to say something with their hair, and with so many aspects of the physical appearance, people are seeking to project something, some image. They're trying to be something, become something through their visual experience. So that there are many different kinds of ways that we can reflect on experience by taking this kesa loma nakadanda tacho. With kesa we can look at the impermanence of it, the fact that hair is always it's always growing, it's always sprouting, it's never still even for a moment. We shave it off and before very long it's come back again. It's unstable, it's a conditioned phenomena, and it's not something that we can control or influence through will or through. We may want our hair to be a certain way and to look nice and look attractive, or we can have all kinds of desires around our hair, but our hair is the way it is according to the causes and conditions. It varies. It can be affected by diet, for instance. You eat a lot of greasy food and you get greasy hair, for instance. Seeing hair of the body, and where the hair sprouts out all the different parts of your body, and all the different perceptions that there are around that. You say in the West, if you've got a male and you've got a big hairy chest, men are very proud of that. You see them keeping their shirts sort of half undone so they can see all the hair poking out. Whereas Asian people say it looks like a monkey. So these Western men come to Thailand and they sort of go to nightclubs and things and open up their shirts, and all the women are thinking, he looks like an animal, he looks like a monkey. And then hair grows in the wrong places, and then you start. It gets embarrassing when you get sort of, about 40. You suddenly notice that hair starts growing out of your ears. I mean, I don't think it doesn't do that when you're young. I mean, I don't know what this kind of trigger goes, and suddenly something says, "Time to grow out of the ear hole." Why does it do that? I just have no idea. And then, of course, if you're a woman, then there's lots of suffering. If women who eat a lot of cheese, sometimes they start to notice they get a bit of a moustache. And that's really, of course, with the ideas of beauty and so on. If you start having facial hair as a woman, or if you have very hairy legs or something, and you look kind of all the suffering and difficulties around that. And it's just hair growing and sprouting and doing its business. And you get hair underneath your arms, and it starts to stink, doesn't it? And sort of, as your monk, you think maybe I sort of shave it off, and then you can't. It's against the Vinaya to shave all your hair under your armpit, but sometimes monks do it anyway. And the stink of sweaty body hair. It's horrible, isn't it? This is hair of the body. Kesar and loma, naka, nails. And nails are kind of interesting to investigate, aren't they? I mean, you've got this kind of soft, flabby kind of thing that ends in these kind of knobbly bits, and then you've got this hard stuff growing out of it. I mean, it just seems to me really illogical. You know, it's just sort of kind of soft all the way down from your head, all the way to the bottom, and suddenly this kind of these hard bits grow on the bottom of your fingers. I don't exactly know what purpose they provide. You know, do nails have a purpose? Does anybody know? Mine don't seem to have any purpose. You have to keep cutting them. That's another thing. And the only thing that I can see that nails actually do is they collect dirt underneath them. And perhaps, and probably there is actually, as there's a good and a bad side to everywhere. And the fact that nails collect dirt underneath them actually has provided some of the greatest similes in religious literature, because the Buddha actually sort of pointed to that. Even the Buddha used to get dirt underneath his fingernails. He said, "Look, Ananda, you see this dirt underneath? If you've got even that much attachment to self, you know, it's suffering." And or he compared all the earth in the world to all the suffering of the samsaric existence of Patujanas, and then the earth, the dirt underneath the Buddha's fingernails as how much suffering there's left for the Sotapanna. So maybe perhaps it's just as well that dirt gets caught under fingernails, otherwise we would have been deprived of those very instructive similes. And then people like to paint them. You see, sometimes you go on Bindabat and you see these old meroks, you know, like sort of really sort of shriveled and meroks, and they've got these like brightly painted fingernails that are red. And I remember going on one of these kind of long, showy bindabats in Ajahn Jayasaro monastery some years ago, and so keeping my eyes very well down because there's lots of young women around. And then coming on, then seeing all these young women, and they painted all their toenails white. You know, they've got this sort of the whole white gear, and even paint their toenails white. This is sort of the ultimate upasika kit, you know. So toenails can get ingrown, and so there's suffering in toenails, having to look after them all the time. And they're just that. It's kind of hard, shelly things. And if you ever caught one in a door, that's pretty nasty. And if you ever had a nail that goes black, and then you have to try to kind of pull it off, and then playing around with it for weeks until you finally just pull it right off, and then another one grows in its place. So that's nails, and then skin. There's all kinds of skin, isn't there? And there's skin on your hands, on the back of your hands, your palm, skin on your body, skin on your heels, skin on your feet, and just how fragile skin is, just how easily broken it is, and just how frightening that is. I mean, you look at it, well, you know it's fragile, but when it does break, it's a shock. As a kid once, we used to, there was a big building site out behind the house where I lived, and we used to, it's building a school, we used to climb up around in the roof at night, and it's pitch black, and I fell out of the roof and landed on some rebar, and it went right into my I still got a scar here, and I didn't realise, and then someone shined a torch, and all my anorak was completely red, and And my friend comforted me. He said, "It's down to the bone." And so we so he ran out to the hospital. Well, just the shock of it, just the shock of that something could just go right into my body like that. Just how easily you can scrape your skin and break it, or your blisters and cuts, and just this thing that's holding everything in. I mean, if we didn't have our skin, your kidneys and all kind of stuff would just fall out, wouldn't it? I mean, you've got to have this stuff, but it's not very reliable, is it? Can't depend on it at all. And if you've ever seen corpses, and you see what happens to skin when bodies start to rot, and all the skin starts to sort of come away from the body. And remember, I won't go into corpse stories right now, perhaps, but it's pretty horrible. And the way that skin changes, and as it gets old, and how people fight against that, don't they? I remember going, when I was back home last time, watching an interview with this famous American movie star man. He's about 70 years old. He'd had these so many facelifts and jobs done. His skin was so tight he could hardly talk. He was talking like this. It was really ghoulish, If he didn't open his mouth, he'd look, "God dear, he looks good for his age." And then the moment he starts talking, you think, "Oh," there's a sense of some weight. There's this kind of sadness that somebody would do that to themselves. So you've got all these people fighting desperately to keep their skin creaseless. And people have this fear of creases, and but this is the way skin goes. It becomes more and more like old parchment. It becomes all creased, and it's just that skin. So you see other bodies. There come down to that. Look at hair of the head as hair. This is Satipatthana. You see hair as just hair. Doesn't have an owner. It's not self or belonging to self or an expression of self or an expression of personality. It's just hair. Hair of the body. Sort of natty moustaches, like the sort of Second World War aces with their wax moustaches and beards and all the different styles of beard. And they're just hair, and hair of the bodily hair. Hairy chests or hairless chests, and this is all just kesa, just loma, and nails, and long, beautifully manicured nails, and painted nails, and all the different colours of nails, and these are just nails. And if you're starting to find lust and sexual attraction arising in the mind, and then coming back to these things, noticing that's a nail. That's just nail. It's nailness. That's skin. It's just skin. It's just the covering that keeps everything in, and that's just teeth. Sorry, I missed out teeth just now. Teeth are another one where these days great advances in dental care, and people spend huge sums of money to have their teeth straightened and whitened, and so you have this sort of toothpaste smile, and how much importance people put by it. Teeth are just teeth, aren't they? They're kind of good job you have teeth. It's difficult to eat fresh vegetables without them, but they all kinds of stuff gets caught in them. You used to start flossing your teeth after the meal, and you realise how easy it is for little bits of food to get caught in your teeth, and they get so easily coated with foodstuffs, and and to keep cleaning them all the time, and then they get rotten, and you have to have them drilled and filled and pulled out. Talk about the anatta. If you ever see someone take out their teeth, you know, just how they just completely transformed. And I always felt that when Ajahn Chah was ill, the fact that we never put his teeth in, you know, and this whole sort of how the personality that you projected on him as a sick man was so bound up with the fact that he had no teeth in, because there was quite a definite, you know, gap between how he was like that and how we'd known him when he was speaking, when he had his teeth in. And I wonder just how it would feel if we were to put his teeth in one day and see him laying there with his face constituted in a normal way. And I think it would have been quite an uncanny and an unsettling, disturbing feeling. Just how, you know, the presence of these teeth in your mouth, they give the shape to your face, and it's in the face that we imagine selfhood so easily, isn't it? And how our whole sense of someone's personality and our own personality can be radically changed when teeth are taken out. Ajahn Chah used to have 2 sets of false teeth, and I could tell immediately which set he had in, because it would change the shape of his mouth. And there was one set that I liked a lot more than the other. So when I go and see him, I hope he's got that set of false teeth in, because there was something I found really beautiful when he smiled with that set in and when he spoke. And I used to, those days we used to compete, all the little novices, we compete for the one who could get his false teeth. And after he'd been chewing betel nut, you'd be sitting there beside him and he'd just take out his teeth like this. And you'd rush up to be the one who'd grab them first, this beetle-stained false teeth, and get a toothwood and some sand and clean them off and behind the kuti. You know, just with someone like Ajahn Chah, then you have that kind of devotion, then any kind of even something like false teeth suddenly become sort of charming and something that you want to be involved with, or you want to be the one to go up in the morning and get his spittoon full of urine and empty it. You know, it's a great sort of honour to do that. If it was somebody else's, you know, you turn your nose up and you'd be quite offended to have to do it, perhaps. There are so many lessons to be learned from keep coming back to the physical body. Even if in your kammatthana practice, your meditation practice, you are not making that a major vehicle or your main practice, then do have some proficiency in it at least. Do spend some time on it, because as I say, it's the first meditation subject that we're given, and it's very important that you know, the great teachers and from the Buddha have considered that as monastics, the first and foremost meditation should be one of the physical body. There's so much of the delusion is built up on top of that basic attachment to the physical body as self, as belonging to self. It's finding a self within the physical reality. And so noticing, observing bodies, noticing, observing the changes in body. You know, sometimes you go on Bindabat and you can see like 3 generations of women, for instance, the child and the mother and the grandmother, or perhaps even the great-grandmother, and just being able to, when you see being able to imagine, using the faculty of imagination in the wholesome way, to not to stimulate excitement and delusion, but to reduce it. That using the faculty of imagination to calm the mind, to lead to cessation. And noticing the change, the decline in bodies. There's, I think it's in the Visuddhimagga where he goes through the 10 ages of man. They start off the age of, I don't know if I can remember all these now. The age of the baby, and then from 10 to 20, it's the age of play and enjoyment, and from 20 to 30, it's the decade of beauty and attractiveness. From 30 to 40, it is what? Strength. Yeah, so 30 to 40 is the decade of strength, and 40 to 50 is the decade of wisdom, and 50 to 60 is the decade of decline, 60 to 70 is the decade of stooping, and 70 to 80 is bent over decade, and from 80 to 90 is, can't remember, growing decrepitude is a good guess, and then from 90 to 100 is the decade of just laying down, and this whole movement of growth and decline, and noticing that there are everyone, we're all teachers to each other. And we're teachers in this matter of anicca, dukkha, anatta, through the physical body, through physical changes. Notice how the body is affected by mental states. Notice when people have certain arom, how that's expressed in the physical realm. We keep coming back to the body, the body as a conditioned phenomena without an owner, changing, unstable, unable to provide any lasting satisfaction or refuge. What could be sadder than people who look for refuge in the physical body or youth, and especially in the States, if you go to the States and you see old people trying so desperately to prove that their life still means something because they're not really old, and dressing like people 20, 30 years younger than they are. It's a very poignant part in Death in Venice by Thomas Mann, if any of you have read that, if you remember, where at the beginning the hero is he's on this sort of pleasure boat, and he's kind of saddened and slightly sickened to see this aging homosexual with all this makeup on, playing with his cavorting with these young men, and just how sad it is to see that. And then right at the end of the book, you find that the hero himself is doing exactly the same thing. He's old and drooping and tired, and he's painted his face and put on makeup and acting in exactly the same way, which had caused him so much a sense of such sort of sadness some years before. When you see there is just this deep sadness about people who look for fulfillment in the physical body. It's how people limit themselves and limit their lives to such a course, and it would seem so obviously frustrating a frame and a foundation for their life. So as Buddhist monks, we're not taking some kind of Puritan standard, the way of the flesh is evil, and it's the devil and all that kind of stuff that is inflicted on people in certain other religious traditions. But we're encouraged to look at as clearly as we can, not to take up a particular attitude to the sensual world. This is the Buddhist take on sensuality, or this is the way it is. But look closely. Look at the physical body. Look at what happens to it. Look at its constituents. Look at the things that arouse emotion, arouse sexual desire, and look at them closely. Are they really what we think they are? Are we really with what's there, or are we creating something on top of that? Something that's not really there at all? I keep coming back to this simple truths of, what is hair of the head, what is hair of the body, what are nails, what is teeth, what is skin? Well, where is the attractiveness really? Where does it lie? Is it not merely an illusion? And so in Buddhism, it's asking us questions rather than giving us these ready-made answers. It's not the kind of catechism that you have to learn and memorize, but it's saying, look. Look at the body, look at the mind, learn from what you see. Because that very effort to keep looking unwaveringly at the truth of things is what leads to freedom and letting go of defilement.